just left the house and heading to Cherokee for the camping trip. I know I didn't really make a standalone video for the new wheels and tires. It's just been a pretty chaotic week. They came in, I guess it was Wednesday, give or take, got them put on. And it just gets dark so early anymore. Gosh, it gets dark around 5:30 where I live. So by the time I get off work and try to put anything or do anything with the truck or anything with vehicles, it's just way too late to record anything. So I put those on in the dark, got it done. I will say that I got those from Trail Built Off-Road. The tire and wheel package came delivered very nicely. It was well packaged and all that good stuff. They shipped and delivered exactly what I ordered. But I will say that I did actually have to have them rebalanced. I actually had to have them rebalanced at Discount Tire. Reason being, they send you some paperwork, which is absolutely fine. They are static balanced. Now you may have some different luck with if you order from them with your wheels and tires, and that's absolutely fine. I just always have had bad luck with static balancing. Seems like there's always some vibrations at highway speeds with that. So I did take them to Discount Tire and I had them road force balanced. They're much better, seem a lot smoother. Of course, you know, with all-terrain, they're not going to be as smooth as say well, I guess my stock wheels and tires are all-terrains, but they're not the same as these Rubitreks, which I'll do a full review of those versus maybe the Wild Peak AT3s once I have some more time with them. On snow, on the dirt, which we're getting ready to go do at Cherokee. I'll just put out my thoughts on in comparison. Now, it will be very subjective. Now, I know that there's been some complaints in the past about some subjective reviews on the AT3s or AT4s. But anyways, it will be subjective. It's not going to be objective reviews because I don't have any data to compare to because I don't have the AT4s anymore. But I will make a quick review of that and my thoughts anyways, and what I think about them. And it's going to be on this truck versus my Jeep, so that will also be different because the four-wheel drive system is different. But anyways, so heading to Cherokee, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a drive, about a 2.5 hour drive, I think. I already have the idea camping spot, like I mentioned in my previous video, picked out. Again, that one may already be taken. I hope not. It's a gorgeous view, gorgeous spot. We'll see if it is. Hopefully it's not. That's where we'll set up tonight. And then tomorrow I have some ideal trails picked out that aren't too difficult. Just some things to play around on, maybe some 2 or 3s, just to see some maybe what's left of the leaves and just kind of have some fun. And probably say if that camping spot is available tonight, probably stay there again before we come back on Sunday. This video will probably be another two-part series. It may be all in one, it just depends. I feel like a lot of times if you make them all in one, it's too lengthy of a video, and it's just a lot of cutting out of things that you want in the video to make it somewhat consumable, we'll say. But anyways, I'll pick back up a little bit further along in the trip. I hope that y'all will enjoy this video, and I'll try my best to get some more four-wheeling items in here, of course, or off-roading items in here with the Colorado and these new wheels and tires. I'm very excited to give them a try and see how they do. I do feel like they'll at least do a lot better than the dual aerate all-terrains, those the 20-inch wheels and tires. These are 17s, and especially on rocks, because I was really concerned with the others going on rocks just because they weren't very strong plies. I think now, if I'm not mistaken, these are actually 10 plies, which is partially the reason you're going to get worse gas mileage because they're heavier. But again, with off-roading on rocks, you don't have to worry as much. But anyways, we'll pick back up here shortly. I didn't really get a lot of video from the first day of camping, or the first day we actually arrived at the campsite. On the way up, I'll be honest, the switch panel that I installed there a little bit ago, it actually failed on me. I've since then got it fixed, and I'll have maybe another video or something of that nature to show exactly how I fixed it or what really happened. But it did work on the way up there. We were able to get it to actually work enough to get up the trail, and the lights were very handy. But as we're picking up here, we're actually coming down, and I could be mispronouncing this, but I think it's Waucheesi Mountain Overlook. We came down that trail, which is rated a 3. In most sections, it's really about a 2. If you have a decently sized or decently nice, I guess, lifted 4x4, it doesn't even really have to be lifted, but as long as you have good ground clearance. We had really not brought enough supplies, I guess, for having 2 days of camping. Don't really have a electric cooler, so we really needed to make it to a close town or a town. So that's where we're starting out here, and I'll kind of explain as we go along which way we're going. My big plan was I wanted to stay on dirt trails or dirt paths to get to the nearest town, or what I thought by the map was the nearest town, but it really wasn't. But it made for an adventure. That's where we're starting out right here at this very moment, is coming down from Waucheesi Mountain Overlook onto the Waucheesi Bald Trail, which is Forest Road 126. So we pick it back up here as we're coming back to camp. The road to the town, what I thought was the closest town, which was Robinsonville, North Carolina, was not exactly the closest town. But I wanted to take all dirt roads because it was possible to take all dirt roads to get to town and then come back, versus actually going to another town and finding some dirt trails. There, just again, it was just easier in my mind. But what I thought was going to be maybe an hour and a half journey to town and back ended up being around about a 3-hour journey. And as you can see right here, it was sunset by the time we were heading back to camp. I was wanting to get to camp before sunset. Didn't necessarily happen, as you'll see at the very end of this. But the trails that we took were nice. They were, some of them were 1, some of them were 2s. Some of them were just Forest Service roads. But it was actually, right here as you see, it's very interesting. If you're into actually fast car driving or, the Dragon, then you might recognize some of these roads or this area. This is near the Cherokee Skyway. You actually can take a little trail or a little road off of the Cherokee Skyway to get to this dirt trail. So I think this might be considered Wiggs Meadow or close to Wiggs Meadow. One of the trails were the North River Road to Upper Chantia. I think is the way you pronounce it, 81. I think that's the one that this actually is. Beautiful at sunset. Gorgeous drive, as you can see. One of the trails actually closer to camp, which is actually, again, the one we started at originally, being the Waucheesi Mountain Overlook or the Waucheesi Bald. I ended up kind of making a joke and calling it the Dirty Dragon. So, again, if you're very familiar with the dragon or back of the dragon, tail of the dragon, then you might be familiar with that. But to me, it reminded me a lot of just a dirt dragon, some of the roads or some of the curves. But again, this whole trip was fun. So let's pick up and just kind of show you getting back to camp. We'll say the night at camp was very windy. It wasn't cold. It was actually warmer this night than it was the night prior, but the wind made up for that. It was only about 3,500 feet in the air or elevation, but gosh, I say wind gusts, probably around 40, maybe 40 miles per hour at times. It made for camp difficult at times, but the diesel heater and just trying to hold on to things tight, it made it okay. Let's pick back up here. So the rest of this video is going to be the climb back up to Waucheesi Fire Tower Road. This was about the funnest trail of the whole trip, really, because it was a 2 and it's rated as a 3. And there was, I mean, again, I said it was a 2. There was some spots it might be a 3, but I will say that it was probably the funnest trail of the whole trip, and the views up top are gorgeous. I won't discount that whatsoever. If you have a chance to camp at the top of this trail, I highly recommend it, especially if it's not muddy. Now, the trail would be really fun if it's muddy, but camping up top if it's muddy would be probably cumbersome. It's possible, yes, but very cumbersome. I would recommend probably trying to camp at a time that's less windy. That made it a little bit difficult, especially during the night time. It got pretty chilly, but again, maybe at some point I'll do a review of the sorry if I mispronounce this, but the Vevor diesel heater, because it worked wonderfully. I kept it probably near the lowest setting, probably around the middle setting. And the tent that I used back in my Florida video, I've used it twice now, or 3 times now. I recognized that it actually has a port for the diesel heater, and it worked great actually on the second night. It will keep you really warm. Do plan on using it again in the future. Maybe doing some winter camping, maybe around December, January time frame, maybe when the snow hits. There'll be plenty more reviews coming up in terms of the tires. I do want to review the Falken Rubitreks actually on a video of their own, especially when the snow does hit in comparison to the Falken AT4s like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. There'll just be some more trail videos coming, a lot more to come. And again, if you all have any suggestions for any videos, I highly encourage you all to please suggest those to me, because I'm more open to anything that y'all have open or suggestions. I do want to put out some good content coming up. But again, thank you all for being supportive. Thank you for watching this video. Please watch the end. I have something at the end that's a little bit funny I think you'll enjoy. But again, thanks for watching. Until next time. Okay.
Recording.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay.
Okay.
So for a little bit of a blooper, this is my attempt at folding the pop-up tent for the toilet. The last one I bent and I threatened to cut.
Where's the bag?
Just enjoy this, and I'll see you all on the next one.
You gotta have the bag, I think.
Just like the video. Obviously there was something wrong with the other one then. No way.
Yeah, first time on that one. That was,
Well, we didn't have to cut it up.
no. Last one, though, was a bitch. Shoo.